dangerous. Anyway, let's jump into Michelangelo's David. And let me just say this. You really cannot have an appreciation for any sculpture, but certainly for David, without seeing it in person. That is, photos don't do a sculpture justice because they're two-dimensional, and you don't get to see it in life. More so, I think, than painting, because painting are two-dimensional. Seeing a painting live still matters because you get the texture, you get the real colors, you get the effect of the lighting. Like Vermeer, you cannot appreciate Vermeer from a book. Seeing the paintings in person is just a different experience because the projection of light in the painting is what the painting is about to a large extent with Vermeer. And that you can really only appreciate when you see the painting. And with a sculpture, it's three-dimensional. It sits in a space, and you can't really appreciate it without experiencing it in real life. Now, after you experience it in real life, you can really admire the photographs, and the photographs often provide you with details that you didn't see when you saw the sculpture up close. Dramatic lighting, all of that can add hugely to the experience, but it's never the same as actually seeing the sculpture in person. So that's number one. Second is size matters. Size matters. Michelangelo's David has a presence because of the quality, but also because of just the sheer size of the sculpture that you cannot get from a small replica, even if it's a great, really, really good, perfect replica. I mean, the whole sculpture is sculpted to be this particular size. So, and to be looked at, looking up. So again, you can't appreciate it by seeing small replicas. I mean, and most replicas are really bad. And then finally, what's really amazing is I've seen many replicas of many. I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 replicas of Michelangelo's David in real life size, in the size of the original. There's one in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace. If you're in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace, it's worth going to see it. There's one at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Again, if you're there, there's also a replica of Moses, real life, also Michelangelo's Moses, at the Victoria and Albert, and that's worth seeing. And then there are 2 in Florence itself. There's one at the piazza where the original used to be, until they decided, I think very, very smartly, to protect it from the elements, the weather, by putting it indoors and really creating a space for it. And then there's a 4th one in Florence, up on a hill overlooking the city. So there are actually 4 replicas, and they're all magnificent, and they're all amazing, and they're all beautiful, and they're all stunning, and all of that. And when you walk into the Accademia and see the original, it's just a different experience. There's something about the marble that it comes alive. All the other replicas are casts in, I think, some kind of marble dust or something like that. This is the original carved sculpture in Carrara marble that Michelangelo worked on. And even if you don't know all that, it just has a completely different feel to it, sense to it. It's also beautifully placed and beautifully lit, right, at the Accademia in Florence. But it is it just has a life of its own, and it's as if it's projecting light. And marble is just a beautiful material. And when you see marble and you compare it to like a casting of marble dust or some other kind of stone, there's a huge advantage. The marble itself is vibrant. So there are very few artworks that are literally worth traveling just to see. just an artwork going around the world to see it. This is one of them, right? And now, of course, it's in Florence, where there's probably another 50 to 100 artworks worth expending significant time to see. But it's worth traveling to Florence just to see the Michelangelo's David. And then you can also go and see all the other great stuff that's here. Rome is another destination that's worth it. The Louvre maybe, but there are not many. There are many that are worth just traveling just for that. And this certainly is one of them. It's stunning. The sculpture itself is, Michelangelo carved it, when he was in his early 20s. He was born in 1475, and this was carved between 1501 and 1504, so in his kind of late 20s. He was 25 when he started it. It is, obviously heroic, dramatic, but it has a calm to it, a resoluteness to it, that is truly inspiring. This is a young, beautiful, beautiful man. I mean, the muscles, the tone of the body, everything about the body is just magnificent. It's not super detailed. There's detail there, like you can see the veins and the arms and stuff, but it's not super intricate. It's just stylized, enough. You see these powerful muscles, and you can, and everything. The whole body is tense and ready for action, and he's got this beautiful, beautiful pose. He's got one leg leaning, stretched out forward. His weight is on the back leg. It's relaxed, tense at the same time, and ready for action. Ready for action. The torso, the abs, the back. It's just all beautifully, perfectly done. Not. It's not like what is it? Some of the sculptures you see. I don't know, like the Atlas in New York, where you see all the muscles and super stylized. And no, this is a real human being, powerful human being, the image of a perfect human being, physically. And then you've got this, but again, the way he stands, the way. The way the weight is shifted, the way his body is tense and ready for action, all of that conveys values, conveys ideas. And then you see that face, the face of concentration, determination, commitment, readiness. There's no fear there. There is focus, intense focus on the task at hand. And even if you know nothing about David and Goliath and the story of David and Goliath, it doesn't matter. You get everything you need to know from the sculpture itself, as you do from every great work of art. You get it from the work of art itself. You don't need too much of the backstory. This was a commission. David was a commission that Michelangelo took from the city of Florence. That wanted a sculpture of a David. It was a block of marble that had come from Carrara. Two other sculptors had tried to carve it and started carving it, and they deemed the marble too flawed to continue. Michelangelo, in spite of that, in spite of obvious flaws in the marble that these other two sculptors, experienced sculptors, had identified, decided to go ahead with the project. And indeed, he did. He carved the whole thing. Originally, the statue was supposed to be at the top of the Duomo. It was supposed to be way up. And once people saw the sculpture itself, they said, "Oh no, we don't want it up there." And they basically put it right at the center, at the heart of public life in Florence. It was basically there. For 300 years until the 19th century, when it was when they decided to move it indoors somewhere, and they ultimately picked the location where it is at today for preservation and protecting. It's amazing that it turns out that it sat in a box for 25 years before it was ultimately installed. For 25 years, nobody had access to the David. Now, a cast was made of it, and the reason a cast was made of it is that they lugged the cast around different places in Florence to see how it would look in order to figure out where it should be ultimately placed. And they used a cast for that, leaving the original in the Palazzo. And once they decided, of course, they created it up, moved it. It's not that far. It's a 15-minute walk, maybe 15-minute walk, I think, from the Accademia to the Palazzo where it originally was. And it's been there since kind of the late 19th century. Again, the cast that they originally used in order to figure out where to put it is used in that Palazzo, and there two other casts were made that I know of, one for the Victoria and Albert Museum and the other one for the other David up in the hills overlooking Florence. What else can I tell you about Michelangelo's David? Again, worth being here to see it. Easily spend a half an hour, 45 minutes just looking at the David, just being inspired by it. There's so many angles, so just going around. Luckily, you can get a 360 view of the sculpture. I have my favorite angles that I like to look at it. I've been there so many times. I'm not sure how many. I mean, 5, 6 times, I think. I think that's right. And I'm so familiar with it because my wife actually said at some point, it's like visiting a relative. We know him. We got pictures of him all over our house, and we visit every time we're in Florence, and we try to visit often. So it's very, and it's still, in spite of all that familiarity, when you take the corner from the entrance and you walk and you take the turn, and there he is at the end of the corridor in front of you, full size, in his full magnificence. It's breathtaking. So encourage everybody. Yaron rules for life. Go see Michelangelo's David. Make it a point in your life to check him out. Check him out. All right. Let me see something. 1 second. Yeah, during my wife just reminded me that during the Second World War, Italy was being bombed by the Allies, and a lot of effort was put to the credit of the people preserving the arts all over Italy. A lot of effort was put, and this is true in other parts of Europe as well, but in Italy especially, as the Allies were bombing. A lot of effort was put into preserving the artworks and into protecting them. This was a high priority for the Italians. I don't know if this was ordered from the top. I don't know if this was the initiative of the curators. My guess would be it was the initiatives of the museums and the curators, and they made heroic efforts to save art all over Italy. And during the war, they created a special protective casing. Was built around it, just in case the building was bombed or if the building was damaged. They didn't try to move him, but they built kind of a bunker around him to protect him, to protect the sculpture from the bombing. I don't know that much of Florence was bombed. I know Rome was definitely bombed. Naples, we were in Naples, was definitely bombed. Some buildings were completely destroyed. Some churches with some magnificent artworks were definitely destroyed. But I don't know, and I don't think Florence was bombed. I don't think the Vatican was bombed, and that's why those artworks have all survived. But I do know there was bombing going on in Rome itself. Anyway, worth the trip. If you're in Europe, it's easy, it's cheap. You get on a train, get on an airplane. Airplanes tickets in Europe are amazingly cheap if you're willing to fly coach. But if the United States, make the effort of putting together, taking some time aside, and traveling to Italy and spending a few days in Florence, and David, of course, should be on the list of things. And as we explore Florence, I'll give you other places I recommend going. The other thing that's amazing in the Accademia is there are 6 unfinished sculptures by Michelangelo, 4 from Julius II, Pope Julius II's tomb that was planned, and 2 other unfinished works. And it really is, I mean, it's tragic and sad that they were never finished because they would have been magnificent. There are 4 sculptures that are sculptures of slaves, of which the 2 that were actually finished are at the Louvre. Dying Slave is one of them at the Louvre Museum. So we know the quality of the ones that were finished, and they're just magnificent, just absolutely magnificent. So stirring, so emotional, so revealing of the artist's values, but also inner turmoil. And these would have been the same. I mean, the bodies are twisted in interesting ways. The muscles, you can see what they could have and would have been, and of course you can appreciate what they are even unfinished. Just the kind of power and strength, but also the torment that was involved that Michelangelo is conveying in these sculptures. Michelangelo had particularly later in life, had a very, very different sense of life than Michelangelo's David, in a sense that his religion, in a sense, caught up with him, I think. And he struggled between, he had a real mind-body dichotomy, and there's a real struggle between the physical nature of reality and the nature of the soul that wants to escape the body in a Christian terminology. But it's so beautiful, it's so magnificent. You could, I think anybody can appreciate it, even if not holding a similar philosophical view. And what you can also get is you can actually see the chisel marks on the unfinished work, and you can get a sense. I mean, you have to be really good at this, but my wife is. So she figured she saw in it. She learned from it kind of his technique of how he actually did these sculptures, and it's truly fascinating. Anyway, highly recommend seeing those as well, seeing the 2 at the Louvre. Anything by Michelangelo is worth seeing, but his David and his Pietà and the 2 Dying Slaves, those and the 2 slaves at the Louvre, I think those are the 4 sculptures that are absolute musts in a lifetime. So. And the Pietà is sad because you can't get very close to it. They put it behind bulletproof glass, and it's hard to get to. It's hard to really see. That's one way you should see it, but then look at pictures, because there's some really good photographs of it where you really get to appreciate the details of it. But again, encourage you to check out David. David, you can get up pretty close.